My name is Trudy Chatwin, and I was asked by the Yellow Point Ecological Society to come and give a little talk on Garry oak ecosystems. And today is the very last day of April, and it is full bloom in this Garry oak ecosystem meadow in Yellow Point Regional Park. It's just a lovely place and a lovely day, and we are looking right now at this most beautiful meadow at basically its peak. This site at Yellow Point Regional Park is based on some sandstone, and it's very amazing sandstone. It's called the Nanaimo Formation, and it has very few cracks in it. And so what happens is, in the spring, when the sun warms the site, and the rain warms, and the rain actually just washes over this. So this meadow here is very shallow soils, and so even oak have a hard time growing on it, but the arbutus can grow on very shallow soils. So they're an important tree within the Garry oak ecosystem, often associated with oaks, and they are full bloom right now. So we walked around gently because I don't want to tread on the meadow too much, but to come and see this beautiful little young Garry oak. And it's just leafing out right now at the end of April, and its leaves are just so beautiful and young and fresh. There are two species of camas. The common camas, which is this one, was used heavily by the First Nations. They are used because they are in the lily family, and they have bulbs. So they all have bulbs. So they grow from bulbs. And the bulb was what was used by First Nations, especially the Salish people in this area, would dig this camas, and they would use it as a carbohydrate. And it was traded all up and down the coast for other products that we don't have in the Salish Sea, such as oolakan grease and other products that were very important. Associated in these camas meadows is also a very particular flower, death camas. It is so called because it has, if you ate the bulb of this one, you would die, because they have very powerful neurotoxins. And First Nations were obviously harvesting and cultivating the blue camas, and they would come and they would pick the death camas out. So this would be the only time you could, in this meadow, you could actually harvest the blue camas bulbs, is because when you could see the death camas with it. The bulbs look exactly the same, and it's only in flower when you can actually tell them apart. So within the Garry oak ecosystem, there's 97 species at risk. Partly the ecosystem is endangered, and it's one of the most endangered ecosystems in Canada, because as you can see, they're kind of flat and beautiful places, and so they're places that people like to live, and so they're mostly developed. Another little beautiful flower that we have in this meadow is called sea blush, and it's a little pink flower. Sometimes on some places it gets to be quite large, but here the soil is very small, thin and small, so the sea blush is in this little meadow. Beautiful. We've just come across some beautiful patches of the calypso, the fairy slipper, or calypso is their Latin name, Calypso bulbosa. So these bloom at the end of April, and they're just gorgeous flowers with their little lip, and all these orchids are pollinated by various different things, and so they have really intricate pollination strategy. Maybe you can see that they have this thing because they can attract the bees down, and then the bees brush the pollen, all in the aid of reproduction, which is what spring's all about. Flowers and plants that are associated with the camas, just in this tiny little area, I can see the blue camas, the bluey purple camas, but also there's this buttercup, which is a native buttercup, and it's the western buttercup, and it's not like the ones that we have that are weeds in our garden. This one is quite a delicate little one. Invasive plants are one of the most pervasive threats in these Garry oak meadows. So in the 1800s, I think James Grant brought Scotch broom here because he missed the plants of Scotland. and he brought this Scotch broom, and it has really become quite a big threat in Garry Meadows. And in this place, many volunteers, and probably including people in your society, have obviously done a lot of work in this meadow to get rid of Scotch broom, but its seeds are very persistent. This might be a young one. I'm just going to take it out, actually. Cut it off at least, because there. So right here, you can really see on this thin sandstone this just carpet of the mosses. They can grow where there's nothing. Like I can just feel the rocks right underneath me here. They contribute to the Garry Oak ecosystem by kind of binding the soil. So in a native Garry Oak ecosystem, there's probably less grasses, and there's lots of little mosses and lichens that bind the soil between the flowers. It's called orchard grass. And orchard grass, because I guess it was planted in orchards or in fields and as a hay or something, but it just grows like 7 feet tall, even on these thin soils. And you can see that it's actually taking over this camas meadow, and there's another species, plantain. Perhaps there's a little bit of moisture here and it's just taking hold.